Well, I think that one thing that would be very helpful is if we had tax integration. Like now we have a gift and estate tax, and we have an income tax, and we have a corporate tax in addition to the shareholder level income tax. And we have a series of excise taxes, and we have, I mean, I can go on and on. We could integrate those taxes into one single tax that would allow the elimination of a number of these loopholes that allow wealthier people to avoid taxation. Okay, one thing you could do is exactly what Ronald Reagan did, which is equalize the rates between ordinary income and capital gains. Another thing you could do is you could take the cap off of Social Security so that it's not that the more you make, the less Social Security you pay. Another thing that you could do is to decrease the pressure on the legal pressure on the Internal Revenue Service to audit poor people, because most of the audits are going for the Earned Income Tax Credit. At least if Congress would audit the largest taxpayers with the same enthusiasm as the poorest taxpayers, that might be one way, if not to make things easier, at least to have people be less scared. I mean, a lot of things I think are not solved by law as much as they're solved by culture. Well, when our income tax system first started, it was really meant to be a class tax. It was meant to be a tax on success. Only 2% of the people in the country were supposed to ever file. Only 1% were ever supposed to pay. And so I'm always a little taken aback when people in the United States say, I have rights because I pay my taxes. In the United States, you have rights whether you pay your taxes or not. Even the way the Constitution was structured, it was structured so that people who were earning very little would not be subject to federal taxes, that it would really be taxes on people who had a significant amount of income or wealth. But with World War II, there was just a flip, and it's called going from a class tax to a mass tax. And all of a sudden, paying taxes became patriotic, and all these taxes were shifted to working people. But they were shifted to working people at a fairly low rate, and as your income got higher and higher, the rate got higher. But with the Reagan administration, the rates on the highest incomes dropped, and there was more of a shift of the tax burden to poor people. Now, we think of the tax system as taxing people more as they earn more, but when it comes to wages that are under about $110,000 a year are subject to Social Security taxes. Once they go over that amount, they're not subject to those taxes anymore. So it's as your income gets higher, your tax gets lower. When you look at the way that income from wages is taxed and income from property is taxed, income from property is consistently taxed at a lower rate. There was a time when tax politics was very clear. When the Constitution was written, it was structured so that it would be very difficult for the federal government to tax anyone, and certainly to tax anyone who was just earning wages. As the country became larger and larger and more sophisticated, what's happened is that the tax code has become part of this weird dance between politicians and the wealthy. So politicians sort of threaten changes in the tax code, and then that gets them great contributions from wealthy people. The politicians who are in the taxing committees get much more fundraising than their peers. I guess one argument would be that if you had public financing, a lot of this would be solved, because there's such pressure on politicians to engage in this dance with the wealthy.